Sometimes it takes exposure to other cultures to realize you're a little weird. My name is Rachel, and this is Designed Resilience, the corner of the internet where we talk about building daily habits and practices that help you have the foundation that you need to have strength and stamina when things are amazing, because sometimes that energy can be overwhelming, and the baseline that you need to keep you strong through challenging times. And one of the areas that we build daily habits and practices in is personal growth and development, because when you are continuing to grow and develop, you build confidence, and you also reaffirm to yourself that you have the ability to keep going, to keep moving forward and making progress. And sometimes you just need to believe that about yourself when you're in a really trying time. So, what do I mean about other cultures and realizing you're weird? Well, when we are surrounded by a specific group of people, like when we're young in our families of origin, or when we are on social media in a specific type of group, sometimes referred to as an echo chamber, we might not realize that some of our habits and the ways that we go about life are not the same for everybody. My first exposure to a different culture was when I was little and I got invited over to a friend's house for dinner. And in our house, when we were done with dinner, we had to ask permission to leave the table, which was a phrase that we said, "May I get down?" meaning may I get down from the table. Of course, years and years of using that, it had morphed into "may I get down." And that is what we said when we were done eating and wanted to be excused. And so, not thinking that that was culturally unique or something specific to my family, when I finished dinner at my friend's house, I looked at my friend's mom and I said, "May I get down?" And she said, "What?" And I said, "Oh." And in my brain, I thought, okay, she doesn't understand what I'm trying to do. And so I reframed it and I said, "May I be excused from the table?" And she was like, "Oh yeah, you don't have to ask. You can just go. You girls can go, play until it's time to go home." And that was my first sort of interaction, understanding that the way that I approach things is not the way that everyone approaches things. And I really wanted to be more aware. I wanted not to get caught in that awkward feeling of not being understood, because I just assumed that everybody did things like my family and I did. And so throughout my life, exposing myself to other cultures has been an important part of my personal growth and development, because I want to be a more well-rounded person, because that gives me more to pull from when I need resilience. As I've grown older, there are lots of other ways that I have tried to learn how other people move through the world. And some of it has been travel, certainly. I can remember the first time I got to go to Mexico. I was in college, and my boyfriend at the time's mom was a flight attendant. And so she got us buddy passes to go to Mexico. And that was the first time that I had been in another country. And at the time, you could use your birth certificate and driver's license, so I didn't need a passport yet. But there was so much that was different about it. Not that this says anything about anything, but it was the first time that I'd ever seen the military in a commercial airport. It was the first time that I needed to ask questions or request things in another language, which was brand new to me. Of course, in tourist parts of Mexico, a lot of people do speak English, and so I was very comfortable and able to get around easily. Different foods. It was the first time that I saw homes without windows or glass in the windows, so that they were just kind of open air with allowing the breeze into the home. And understanding how different people live because of culture, because of climate, because of location in the world was eye-opening. And it helped me to expand my understanding of normal. My sister and I have done some exploration of our histories and trying to understand our origins as our family tree. And in that exploration, we became interested in native cultures, not just of the North American continent, but native cultures across the world. And so when we had opportunity to understand their rituals or go to events, we would participate in them. We'd watch webinars about Celtic history, and we actually did get the opportunity to go to a great powwow, the Gathering of Nations in Albuquerque, New Mexico, a couple years ago. Now, so this was a celebration of Native American history, and it was gorgeous. One of my favorite things was how the announcer, as they were announcing the different dance competitions or drumming competitions, would tell all of the mothers and aunties to gather the children to prepare them for the next event. And I loved how communal it was, because I knew that all these people didn't know each other. They also talked about how exciting it was to maybe find a date while you were here at the powwow and meet some people from other areas of the country. And the food and the fry bread and the dancing and what each dance meant, what each drum sequence meant, was so rich and powerful to see all of these people come together and celebrate a culture that was unique, that had traditions and rituals for things that I didn't know about that they did, or that I have never that I have never been conditioned to honor. So the way that the different dances honored different phases of the life or yearly cycle, and it was just magical. And all of the design work that goes into the regalia, and just all of those pieces of culture that are natural to those people who gathered for the Gathering of Nations was incredible. Another trip I got to take was to Germany to watch the Invictus Games, which is a wounded warrior athletic competition. And during the Parade of Nations, seeing the different flags and hearing the different anthems, and then seeing the teams celebrate together, and just the way they hyped each other up was so unique and different. And going to the town square, that was a unique thing that I've never lived in a city where kind of at 5 o'clock, everyone goes out to the square and has dinner al fresco or grabs a drink with buddies. It was such a social area, something I'd never seen before. And so I find incredible value in exploring other cultures, whether it's a family's culture, whether it's a people's culture, a nation's culture, because it helps me ground in the uniqueness and diversity of all of us. And it helps me know that if I am desiring something in my life, something sacred or honored, that I can look to the examples of other cultures and find that and understand and learn from them. And my ability to learn from them, my ability to grow and become more rounded, gives me the confidence that I can be resilient, that if I'm presented with a challenge, because I have this practice of learning about other people, that I can also apply that practice of learning and growing to any challenge that comes my way, or any great new thing that comes my way that I'm going to need to adapt to, because I've seen the example of adaptation, and I've seen the example of diversity of experience and celebration. And I think it's important. So, have you ever changed something about yourself or had your mind opened by a culture that you got to see or experience that wasn't your own? I hope you have, because it's pretty great. I hope you found this helpful. And if you did, I'd love it if you'd consider dropping a like or subscribing to the channel. And we'll see you next week.